The Suzuki rmz450 is the bike that got last place in pretty much every magazine shootout out there. So why the hell should you go out and spend your money on one? Well, as you can see here, I was one of the people that went out and did that. I spent $56.88 before tax and everything else on this bike, and that was about a year and a half ago. I've seen people get this bike for under $5,000 plus their taxes and license and fees, etc., there. But let me ask you something. When's the last time you saw a brand new full-size motocross bike going for that low amount of money there? I think the last time I bought a brand new bike was back in 2005. I bought a Kawasaki KX250 and spent just about the same as this one here. So 13-year gap there, and kept the price the same. So in 2018, and that's what year my bike is, Suzuki made they called it a brand new bike, but you know, anyone who knows their shit knows that the motor's pretty much the same as it has been for about the last decade or so. They just added a few different things, like in the fuel injection, a different piston and stuff like that there. This is the one part here, of course, that people like to hit it the hardest with. There is the Kickstarter. It does not have the electric start. There's a rumor going around that in 2021 Suzuki will finally add electric start to their 450 bike there, possibly with a whole new bike. So let's say that happens and Suzuki has a brand new bike and everyone supposedly gets what they want, the electric start, and you know, maybe it loses some weight, you know, it gets criticized for being heavy there. And then in 2021 this bike goes and it becomes just like the other bikes. You spend about $9,000 plus on the bike. Now, it is more expensive than ever to get into this sport and stay in this sport. And this bike, as much hate and grief as it might get, it presents people like myself with a very unique opportunity. And it's the opportunity to own a brand new dirt bike for a way lower cost. And if you're like me, you know, you're not gonna get too bent out of shape about not having the electric start, or you know, some of the other little features, you know, programmable ignition, stuff like that, which is cool, don't get me wrong, that stuff's really fucking cool, and I get it, it's 2020, we should be thinking forward there. But some of us are okay with more simple stuff, and you can spend a lot less to get that with this bike. So I've had mine a year and a half, and it's been a zero issue bike. It is still on the original top end. Had the valves checked, everything was well within spec there. It starts very easily, it runs great. It's my first 4-stroke. It doesn't feel like the fastest bike on the planet, but it is so easy to ride, and it's deceptively fast. You know, it's usually going faster than I actually realize the damn thing's going a lot of the times there. So you know, pretty easy motor to live with. You know, it's proven reliable, it's easy to ride. I'm gonna make a few mods to maybe get a little bit more top end in there. Here's something everyone seems to have an opinion on the bike: the BFRC shock, the big fucking rear cushion, whatever the hell you want to call it there. I don't really dislike it too much. It has a dead feeling to it, which I kind of prefer there. Here's an interesting thing I heard. This was from a suspension tech I met over at Pro Circuit here in Corona. He said that a lot of these shocks apparently came from Showa with air in the oil, you know, some bubbles in there, and it really goofed up the feeling of a lot of the bikes that were tested there. And he suggested, you know, hey, maybe yours wasn't one of them. Maybe you got one that was didn't have the air in there. I don't know. I really want to have the thing revalved nonetheless and get that longer linkage there. I just lowered my sag like everyone else who has these bikes has done there. So I like the power. I don't mind the kickstart. The shock I think is okay. The forks they're pretty good once you soften it up. You know, they have really good bottoming resistance on the front and back there. It's just about getting some plushness in there. It's my second bike that has an aluminum frame. My first one was a Honda with an aluminum frame there, and it feels rigid to me. and the friends of mine that have ridden the bike feel the same. So I'm going to do some motor mount modifications here in another video to try and see what that does there. And as far as the motor goes, we're gonna modify the airbox and the muffler with a no-cost upgrade here in another video. That'll be interesting to see what that does there. So I like the motor. It's easy to ride. I like the suspension. It's not the plushest, but it's really good on jumps, I feel. One thing I really like about the bike is the triangle fits me damn good, where the pegs, the seat, and the bars all come together. That triangle fits me so good, and that's just one thing you can't change on a bike, so very happy about that. So we have a bike that feels good, that could be plusher but has damn good bottoming resistance, and a super easy to ride motor that kicks over easy. Even though it doesn't have the electric start, it's still pretty easy to start. And it's not the fastest bike in the world, like I said, but very easy to ride, and a 450 I feel is more than enough for 95+% of riders out there. So there's that. Let's get into the reality here a little more. Nobody keeps their bike stock for very long. I kept this one in stock as long as I could, because I told myself, hey, if you're going to buy a brand new bike, you're going to wear out every little part on it before it gets replaced. So, you know, I hated the stock tires, but I got my use out of them. The stock chain, hated that thing too. That's gone now. But I'm gonna do a few modifications, like I said, that are no charge. See what that does there. I'd like to maybe drag race it against a KTM or a Honda there. See how it holds up there. And of course take the thing racing. You know, I've done a lot on this bike, ride a lot of motocross, a lot of trails, and gotten into single track lately, which is interesting. So if you want to get a brand new dirt bike for as cheap as you can, this is the bike for you. If you are someone that has to have the very best bike out there, maybe this isn't the bike for you. You know, what might be right for you might not be right for some. This one's right for me, and if you're like me, someone who loves to ride but is a little more defensive about your bank account, go get you one of these. I think you'll be damn happy.